Well, welcome.
Thank you. Thanks for having me. We
I
were actually
know.
out at the Dakota County Fair, knowing that you weren't there, and talked to some people before we headed over here. So it's
Oh,
good.
good.
Yeah.
I hope there were lots of people there. You know where there are lots of people, Jeff? At your call center.
Yeah, actually, right now, we just talked to them, and they don't have enough phones right now for people to call on, so people are actually using their cell phones. So it's awesome.
Wow.
And we've been seeing this for several weeks. Frankly, since Tim's attack ad went on, the volunteers and contributors are coming out of the woodwork. So
I love it.
It's been good.
I love it. Thank you, Stan. It has been good. I know Tim Pawlenty's campaign is very worried about you, and they should be worried. I go out, I am all over the metro area, and all I hear is support for you.
Yeah, we're hearing it too. We've been outside the Twin Cities for 6 straight days. We just got back last night, and we're hearing that everywhere. There's this energy right now, and what I'm hearing from people is not necessarily about me. What they're saying is, hey, in 2016, we pushed back and told the establishment they don't get to pick our candidate anymore, and we're
Right.
going to do it again in
Right.
2018. And that is very encouraging. We're hearing a lot of that.
Very encouraging. Okay, so NPR has this interactive website thing where you can
I saw
answer.
that.
Yeah, they have an issue, and then they have answers, and you're supposed to pick who you line up with the best, and then it moves all the way forward, and then at the end a picture pops up of who you align with. Jeff, I aligned with you.
It wasn't Aaron Murphy.
No. Well, I had an unfair advantage because I could tell most of your quotes.
Well, that was the thing, because I took it, and I also aligned with me. But it was some of the questions though were
Ridiculous.
preposterous. Yeah, they asked whether you're essentially support a woman's right to choose or you're against women's rights.
Right.
I mean, they were very.
The abortion question was
Yeah.
unbelievable,
Yeah.
and I put it up on Facebook, and I got a lot of feedback on that too. Crazy. And then I'm just really, really excited about your campaign. I feel like you're really a different candidate this time. Do you feel like you're a different candidate?
Yeah, I feel maybe part of it is just the energy out there, and frankly, the expectation of people that Donald Trump changed something. No matter what people think of Donald Trump, he really changed the expectation that people have of candidates. They don't want candidates who are cautious all the time. You don't want to be reckless, but they just want you to say what you think, and they might not agree with you. They might even call you names for it, but they appreciate it in the end. I compare it to Paul Wellstone. He was so out of step with the state, but so many people loved him because they knew exactly where he stood. And
Right.
I think they're just hungry for something like that.
I think they're hungry for it too. And I think, after 8 long years of Dayton, I think they're just sick of it. And I really don't feel like, other than the party faithful, the rabid party faithful, for your average Democrat, they're not excited about the Democrat candidates. They feel like they've moved so far to the left, they don't even recognize them anymore. And what's interesting in this primary, you're seeing huge voter turnout in the primary in Hennepin County in Minneapolis, in Olmsted County in Rochester, and up in CD8.
Yeah, and that's a good sign if you are a far leftist, I think. And, it's a good sign probably for Aaron Murphy. Who knows what'll happen there. But I am hearing the same thing, even from Democrats. There's not really a lot of excitement or energy. And one thing I am hearing, 4 years ago, I heard, things are going okay in Minnesota. Why do we switch horses in midstream? Just across the board, people are tired of what's happening in government right now. And it's not just conservatives. And that bodes really well for us.
Okay, so after you win on Tuesday, the Democrats are planning a big unity rally. After you win on Tuesday, are we having a big unity rally?
I don't know. Maybe we might need a day or two, but then yes, I suspect. I mean, if Tim wins, I will support him, and he has said if I win, he'll support me. So
do you believe that? He will be so out of here. He will be gone, and we'll never see him again.
I'm going to believe that he will support and help me, and because that's what we both said. So
okay, here, Jeff Johnson and I disagree. We disagree. Jeff's taking the high road, and he's saying that Tim will be at the Unity event, and I'm saying he will be out of here so fast, just like last time. We'll never see him again.
Well, I'm going to hold out hope for this, and I hope you're wrong and I'm right this time.
Yeah, but I'm never wrong when it comes to him. So, okay, we have all kinds of issues that people want to that I wrote down that I want to talk about. Do you mind if we get into some
awesome.
of these issues? And do you remember when Stan interviewed you on the Outdoor Show a couple
weeks ago? Yep.
Such a great show. I really, really enjoyed it. It was fun listening to you talk to Stan, and Stan to get his first opportunity to talk to a politician.
Yeah, no, it was really fun, and it was an outdoor show rather than a political show. But
right.
Both these guys they were having a good time and made it easy on me, so I appreciated it.
Well, Kudak's on the phone, and that's his co-host.
Oh,
and
yeah.
he has a question for you, so
Great.
I know it's going to be a tough one. Hey, buddy, how you doing?
Good. How about yourself, Miss Sue? Are you staying and not giving him a hard time?
Oh, I'm going to get into the hard time, but when I saw your name pop up, I thought, oh man, this is perfect. He'll start out with a super hard question.
Well, I watch the TV once in a while, and I see these ones that are running against him from the Democratic Party, and that one is she's so far against the NRA and all this stuff.
Erin Murphy, yeah.
And we live in Minnesota. We hunt, we fish. That's everybody in Minnesota. Where I live up here in central Minnesota, we hunt and fish. I mean, our kids hunt and fish. Our grandkids hunt and fish. Where do you stand on the NRA?
Where do I stand on the NRA? Well, I am a member of the NRA, and I have always been endorsed by the NRA in the past. And, the Second Amendment actually matters a lot to me, and that is a difference between Tim Pawlenty and me. I think we both have decent scores with the NRA, but I've been really out front. In fact, we put an op-ed out a couple weeks ago, and everybody's head exploded because you're not supposed to say this. But I said I will veto any new gun restrictions as governor. Even the ones that sound good, even the ones that are, quote, common ground or common sense, because they don't solve any problem. And what they do is they allow us to ignore some really difficult issues that we should be talking to, like what's happening to some of the young men and boys in our society that they're killing people, whether it's family breakdown, whether it's mental health issues, whether it is political correctness in our schools where they can't discipline kids who are violent anymore, whether it's the culture of violence that we have in our pop culture. We don't have to talk about those because now we've banned bump stocks and there won't be another school shooting, which of course isn't true.
It's ridiculous.
And so then there will be another one, and then we'll have to take the next common ground reasonable step. So that's a difference between us that I think matters to a lot of people.
And one more question. We touched this last time when me and Stan talked to you. Putting casinos in the state, state-run casinos. I would like you to hit on that since you're sitting with Sue there. It's just like we talked about it, that there's vices about alcoholism and drugs and this and that. Well, people, if they want to go get it, they're going to find it somewhere. So, instead of the Indians, they got their casinos. Why can't the state have casinos to pay our taxes, put people back to work, run some revenue in the state to get our taxes down, pay for our parks and our recreation and our...
Kudak, you know who you got to ask that? Mike Hatch. Because all the way back to Mike Hatch, he's the one that made that deal, and that's pretty much why we don't have casinos. We only have casinos on the Indian reservation. I've had a lot of people ask me about that issue. It seems to have died down. It was a more popular issue before. But I'll tell you why I think gambling is going to become a big issue, because the Supreme Court said you can start online gambling now. And I think we're going to see a big push for that.
Yeah, I think you're right. And I have always been pretty squeamish about expanded gambling, especially state-run casinos. In fact, I have been opposed to them. But I'm actually the last year or two, I've at least opened my mind a little bit to talk about this, because that compact that was negotiated, 20, 30, 40 years ago, it's not working, and it's not fair, and so I'm willing to talk about that one. I would never make a promise that I would support it, because there are a lot of negative things that come with gambling, and I'm not a fan of the government getting any more money in any way at all, whether it's that or something else.
You make sure that's your deal. If it ends up coming, they have to cut taxes somewhere else. Because remember, and I know we're going to jump around to a lot of different topics and stuff here, but that new online gambling, thanks Supreme Court, that's another one that they came in. We're getting $150 to $200 million thanks to online online taxes for purchases and that kind of stuff. That's new revenue to the state of Minnesota. And I'll tell you, the Democrats, Jeff, they can't wait to spend that money. They can't wait.
Yeah, no, I agree. And unfortunately, there are probably some Republicans who can't wait to spend that money either. And I think what we have to do is, whether it's that or whether it's when we have these annual surpluses, we can't put that on the bottom line. We have to use that either to cut taxes or to replace some spending that already exists.
Right. The Democrats are already looking at spending it on broadband for everyone. Why would you do that when technology is changing so fast? You're not going to need wires before we know it.
Well, and that issue came up when we were at debate with the greater Minnesota cities, and I got up and said, number one, government should never compete with the private sector, whether it's broadband or anything else. And we have grant programs in place to try to entice the private sector, and I'm okay to continue to do that to a certain extent, but we're not going to spend more. And Aaron Murphy got up and said, no, it is government's job to make sure every house, even if there's nobody within 4 miles of you, every house has a line running into that house. That's preposterous.
It's ridiculous.
Utterly insane.
Yes.
And that's what we're running against.
I know. That's why I can't wait till Tuesday. I can't wait to see who you have to run against. I mean, I think any of them are going to be interesting. And in the 4 o'clock hour, we'll talk with Doug Wardlow about the Swanson implosion and everything. And I would say she was the front runner before. Now I think it's probably slid back to Waltz again. But what if it's Aaron Murphy and Aaron May Quaid?
Yeah, no,
bring it, baby, bring it.
That's my gut too. Is that Lori probably was in the lead, but I just don't know how she survives this. And
I don't either.
Walz probably has a little more broad appeal, certainly in Greater Minnesota. But when you look at where the voting's occurring, it's probably those are Aaron and Aaron people, and that would be I'll take whoever.
Right,
doesn't matter.
Bring it, baby. We're ready for this. Yep. I can hardly wait. Did you hear the Nolan story that I've been telling for 2 or 3 weeks now?
No.
Okay. First, everyone's talking about what a sexist Nolan is and how he has his own Me Too moment. One of the stories he liked to tell was when he was and you were in the legislature, so you might appreciate this. When he was in the legislature in the 1970s, they used to blindfold the legislators, and then they would feel the secretaries, and they would tell them whose secretary it was. Yeah. And he used to tell that all the time. Now he doesn't tell it anymore. And you wonder why Nolan's nowhere to be found anymore. It's because he doesn't want to answer questions like that.
Yeah, no, that campaign has put him in a room and said, you just stay in here, maybe try to raise a little money. But he's not being mentioned by Lori. We're not seeing him anywhere. And, it's interesting because I was in the legislature from 2000 to 2006. And my background is as an employment lawyer and labor lawyer. I haven't practiced in years. But when I was there for those 6 years, I actually gave the sex harassment training to my fellow members gratis, but we figured that's a little different than bringing in somebody, and we never had any problems.
No,
I just have to say,
never did. Crazy, isn't it? Just absolutely crazy. Yeah, crazy. Let's take another phone call. If anyone else wants to call in and ask Jeff Johnson a question, 651-989-5855, 651-989-5855. Jeff, you're on the air. Hi, Jeff. Welcome to the show.
Welcome, and congratulations, hopefully, future governor. I have good confidence in that.
Thank you.
But I have a question as far as transportation.
Oh, good. Me too, Jeff. Me too. Okay, go.
I don't want any more transportation diverted towards any more light rail, train rail, hang rail, or anything. Let's concentrate more on roads.
Yep.
And figure out, how they can do some. I mean, I don't know if it can be done, but the Department of Transportation seems lacking and behind, where you don't have to have every road and every area torn up, so you have to drive on a balance beam to get around the cities.
Yeah, I couldn't agree. And transportation comes up a lot. And, of course, the question that I always get is, well, we have to raise the gas tax, right? And my answer is no, we clearly don't, nor would I support an increase in the gas tax. We have one of the highest gas taxes in the country already, along with almost every other type of tax in the state. What we need to do is actually start spending our transportation dollars on those things that people want to use, which are roads and bridges. And I think a good bus system in our population centers absolutely makes sense. It's necessary, but we are diverting billions of dollars to light rail, commuter rail, and now you know what the darling of the left is: streetcars. and the trolley systems. That's where we're talking about tens of millions of dollars now to revive the streetcar system that was all torn apart, 100 years ago because it was obsolete at the time? Yeah. So, yes, let's no, go ahead.
Yeah, well, let's all get back in our DeLorean and go back in time. But I got one more thing, just one more quick thing. As far as winter goes, and I can't be the only one, they used to have a thing called a salt sand mixture for the road.
Right.
And now they use just salt. Well, that doesn't do any good once it refreezes. I remember when they used to use the salt sand mixture, and it was way better than it ever has been, just salt only.
You're 100% right, Jeff. 100% right. You know what they used? Potato brine. They used potato brine. They used beet juice. They used they found out those didn't work, so now they're doing more research on other food byproducts. It's the most ridiculous thing ever.
Environmental wackos, they called it bad with the salt sand, but I think that should be checked into because I know I've been driving on the roads for 30 years doing class CDL, and it was never used to be that bad when they used the salt sand, but I don't want to take any more time.
Thank you.
There's no way I won't. I'm not going to say his name even. So.
Thank you, Jeff.
Thank you,
Mr. Governor.
Thanks.
Thank you. Appreciate your phone call. I want to spend a little more time on transportation too, and I want to talk about the gas tax because all three Democrat candidates have said they would raise the gas tax, which is ridiculous. I had to call Danny, your aide. I had to call Danny about something, and I was so mad because I was at a dead standstill on 694. And Danny says, I go, hi, Danny, it's Sue. And Sue Jeffers calling. And he goes, oh, hi, Sue, how you doing? I go, good. I go, I'm horrible. And when Jeff is governor, let me tell you about the DOT. They are getting the paint cans out. Get the paint cans out and widen these roads. And I went off on a tangent. He's just laughing at me. He's like, yeah, I'll pass that on to him. I'm thinking, yeah, whatever. So now that you're sitting here, did he? Good.
Yes, he did.
Thank you, Danny. Okay. And the roundabouts, I want those torn out too. I want a law. You've never heard me say this before. I want a law, Jeff. No roundabouts on truck routes. No roundabouts on truck routes ever. I think about the snowplow drivers. I think about the fire trucks. I think about the garbage trucks. Do you know somebody just a week ago? Do you know a guy died on a roundabout because old people don't know how to drive on?
No, and we see that, again, we're traveling all over the state, and for some bizarre reason, they are putting roundabouts out in the middle of nowhere.
I know.
Not in the middle of the city, but just out in the middle of nowhere. And you're a semi-driver, for example, trying to get around that thing. I don't know.
Were you on Highway 7?
Well, yeah, I know they're on Highway 7, but we were out literally in the middle of nowhere, and there was a roundabout out there.
When the one on Highway 7 opened up, one of the very first days, a truck tipped over and the driver died.
Really?
And that was a roundabout.
Yeah, I didn't read about that.
I mean, well, it was years ago now because it's probably been there, 5 years?
Yep.
It's just awful. So don't think people can't die, but how would you like the fire department to be on their way to the house? Oh, sorry, we got to slow down for this roundabout. Oh, there's another roundabout. Oh, there's another roundabout. Or the snowplows. I mean, it's just absolutely crazy. We have to take a quick break. When we come back, I want to talk about driver's licenses for illegal aliens because every Democrat candidate has come out willing to look at it or in favor of it. Tim Walz said, yes, he'd support driver's licenses for illegal aliens. Swanson said she would convene a working group to have a conversation and a balance to public necessity. I don't even know what that means. And Murphy said, I don't need a working group. I'm ready to act now. Yes, I'd give driver's licenses to illegal aliens. So when we come back, we'll tackle that issue. If you want to weigh in, 651-989-5855. 651-989-5855. Thank you very much. Sue Jeffers with Jeff Johnson, Twin Cities News Talk AM 1130 and TwinCitiesNewsTalk.com. Thank you so much for tuning in. I'm Sue Jeffers. My guest this segment is Jeff Johnson. We're talking about issues that are important to Minnesotans. And I'm telling you, get out and vote in the primary. It's Tuesday. Get out there. Your employer has to let you off to vote, or you can even go vote Well, I guess it's closed for today. But you can even go vote early on Monday. All the different counties have places that you can go. I've been an election judge. It's been so much fun. Let me tell you, Jeff, people are voting for you.
Yeah, that's good to hear.
I know. I can't wait till Tuesday. I know you're going to win. And you've got a very tiny little handful of people who think the other guy's going to win. He's not.
Well, and it's that tiny little handful, and it's bigger than that. But it is, unfortunately, it's everybody who is either writing in the newspaper or contributing large dollars or running the government right now.
Or Tim promised him a job.
Or that, too. But this has not gone the way everyone said it was going to. You know, we were supposed to get out of the race when he announced. That was an assumption. And then when that didn't happen...
Thank you for not doing that. Thank you.
Yeah. No, I'm a stronger candidate. That's why if I thought he were a stronger candidate, because we have to win,
right,
I would have gotten out of the race, but I just don't believe it.
Win.
Yeah, we really do.
He keeps telling everyone he's the A-team, and it's one stumble after another. And an A-team doesn't have to put up a website that attacks you. An A-team doesn't have to mail me flyers every day talking about him. Tim, I'm never voting for you. I'm a never Pawlenty.
Well, they've spent...
Sorry, I got sidetracked.
They've spent close to $1.2 million running against the Hennepin County Commissioner B team. So it obviously their polling isn't showing what they thought it was going to. It's encouraging.
I know. It is encouraging. I'm really, really excited. All right, let's take a couple more phone calls, and I still have lots more issues to talk over with you, too. Lawrence, you're up next. You have a question for Jeff Johnson? Welcome to the show.
Good afternoon, everyone.
Hi.
So, Mr. Johnson, I'm on my bike, so I pulled over just to ask you a question.
Thank you.
Bicycle, not bike. Right. So I'm going to ask the question. It's totally G-rated. And I'm going to hang up and listen because I'm going to follow up with a short note to you to see if you want to get together and talk through it. But during the last presidential election, President Trump made two comments that really caught my attention. The first one was what his priorities were. And he said, my priorities are to myself, my family, and my business. And I like that approach. I don't think people will all be out there saying I'm in charge of the whole globe or what have you. The second thing he said was in Detroit, he said to the people, what do you have to lose? And that caught my attention, A, because that's where I'm from, and B, there's a whole constituency out there that continues down the same path with results that are not working.
Amen.
With Black Americans.
Mm-hmm.
So all I'd like to hear you speak to is not what are you going to do for them, that's too easy, but how do you or how are you going to speak to that? So I'm going to hang up and listen, and as you answer, just remember it's sweaty out here, but I'm going to pay attention.
Thank you, Lawrence.
Thank you, Lawrence. Appreciate that
Appreciate the call. So we actually I had a press conference either last week or the week before in North Minneapolis to talk about the issue of...
Wait a minute. They say Republicans never go to North Minneapolis.
Well,
you were in North Minneapolis?
I'm actually in North Minneapolis a lot as a Hennepin County Commissioner.
Right.
My district is west, but I have tried to go out of my way as a commissioner to meet with people in North Minneapolis who are community leaders. They don't call themselves community leaders because they don't want to get in front of the TV like most of the, quote, community leaders do. But they are the teachers in the toughest schools. They're the small business people who are trying to survive on a violent Main Street. They're the cops that work that area. I've talked to a lot of them the last 4 years about, what aren't we doing right? Because nothing seems to be getting better, but we're spending a ton of money on this. And some of the feedback I got is quite amazing. And most of them don't want anyone to know they talked to me, which is kind of telling. But we had a press conference there, and I had several African Americans who were with me who had really heartbreaking stories to tell about how they grew up or their young adulthood, but they were all thriving now, or at least doing relatively well, because they found work. Work was the key for them. And so we talked about the importance of a work requirement for those people who are able to work, not as a punishment, but because work is intrinsically good.
Yes.
And because it's one of the ways we show we're created in God's image to share our gifts with other people. And it is the only way to help people out of poverty. Nothing else will get you there. So that work requirement and taking every disincentive from working out of our system, like the benefits cliff we have that says if you make X dollars, you get X benefits, and if you make X plus 1, you get 0 benefits, which makes no sense.
Right.
So let's work through both our tax law and through our welfare laws to encourage people to work, and in fact, require them to work or try to find work. And then also, we talked a lot about education, because if you are not educated, we know kids that drop out of school before they graduate, the vast majority of them end up in the system, whether it's the welfare system or incarcerated. And so we have to give parents more control over the schools that their kids go to, especially in those areas where the schools are failing our kids. Real choice is important, and I will absolutely move towards that. But rather than saying, we're going to let you send your kid off to Woodbury, let's let these parents actually change the schools that their kids are in. Give them real control to actually, it's called the parent trigger, where they can have a referendum as parents in these failing schools. And if a super majority of them say they have no confidence, they can remove the administration.
Right.
They can change the school into a charter school. They can move to a voucher system. They have control, and they'll make better decisions about their kids than anyone else will.
I agree. I am so disgusted with Minneapolis and St. Paul public schools. If I had my way, I'd shut them down.
Yeah.
I'd shut them down. They are so broken. They are such a failure, especially to children of color, that it is just absolutely appalling. And you talk about whether you're talking about their education, their proficiency in math and reading, whether you're talking about how scared they are to go to school because they think they're going to be shot. Hey, Education Minnesota, I'm looking at you. You broke this system. It's crazy.
Well, we're failing thousands of children every single year, and they don't get this time back. It's now gone. And I share that disgust, but I have more disgust for the union than I do for the actual people running the schools, because
I agree.
They're running the show right now, and they're simply unwilling to agree to any reform whatsoever, and we need to push back really hard.
Can you believe we're out of time already?
I cannot.
I cannot, because I have like 40 other issues to talk to you about. And before we go, are you going to give illegals driver's licenses?
I will not. I don't.
Thank you.
I don't get that one at all. But no, easy question.
I know. It is an easy question, too. And, you know, the census is a big thing, too. Should we count illegals? No. And people don't realize that it's so important. The next governor is going to shape the state of Minnesota with after the census comes in to determine, you know, how many congressional seats we're going to have.
That's huge for us, because it's very possible we'll lose a congressional seat. So redistricting is going to be... We need a fair redistricting, and that's what I can promise. I can guarantee you, if the DFL wins, we will not have a fair redistricting.
Single subject rule?
Absolutely.
Thank
Article 4,
you.
Section 17, and I will veto any garbage bill that does not meet that requirement, regardless of which party sends it to.
Right. Thank you. I am so sorry we're out of time. So, Jeff, tell me, if people want to get more information, they can head over to Golden Valley and make phone calls right now if they want to his office. But if they want to get more information from you, or if they want to know where you stand on something, or if they want to send you a really big fat check, well, how
or a little one.
Yeah, or a little one.
JohnsonForGovernor.org, and we are truly, we don't just say we're a grassroots campaign. We are a grassroots campaign. So I just encourage anybody who's supportive to talk to as many friends as they can, and make sure you get out and vote.
Get out and vote on Tuesday or Monday. You can vote either one of those.
Either one
days.
Works.
I know. So thank you so
Thanks,
much,
Sue.
Jeff. You're hearing the prediction right here. In November, there will be no candidate named Tim on the ballot. That's my prediction.
Okay.
And I made that prediction 2 weeks ago. And I'm sticking with it.
I'll write it down.
All right. Thank you so much. I
Thanks,
really
Sue.
appreciate you
That's
coming
great.
in. All right. I know I could have talked to him for the whole 2 hours.